Go. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Yes She Can project. I am joined today by the gorgeous Sharon. Hi Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but we had some audio issues the last time, so we've decided why not re-record.
Yes, exactly.
And we enjoy
That's a
speaking
microphone.
to each other, so.
Yeah, exactly. We do. That's just our excuse, really.
Yeah, good excuse for another chat.
Yes, indeed.
So for anyone who doesn't know, could you just introduce yourself for me and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I am Sharon Luca Chatter, mostly known as Sharon Luca, which I love. And the reason I love that is because it was my son's name, Luca was, which we added to our surname when he was born sleeping full term in June 2012. So in his memory, I have started a charity called the Luca Foundation, which helps parents with things that we didn't have at the time, specifically a cold cuddle cot. And what that does is keep a baby's body preserved to ensure that they don't deteriorate too quickly, and gives family the gift of time really with them. Wow. To say their goodbyes for longer. It's a non-profit charity, so I don't take any funds from it at all. My sideline, I suppose, for making a little bit of pocket money for myself is I have a clothing range, which is all ethical and organic clothing. And this one says Angel Warrior. Angel Warrior is the name I've given to bereaved parents. Because our angels are in the sky. If you're Christian and believe in angels, etc., then you know that's a very I suppose fitting.
Yes.
But we are the warriors down here, having to warrior on through our lives without our child. So it's an angel warrior is somebody who's lost their child, basically. Right. And it's also the name of my book, which just came out recently, Angel Warrior, Life After Loss. And that very much is, and 10% of all this Angel Warrior goes to the Luca Foundation as well. So the clothing is lkecostyle.com. That's LK, and those initials are actually Luca and my youngest son, Kai. So LK Eco Style is where you can get all of this from, and 10% goes to the Luca Foundation.
Right.
And so I'm an author, I'm a public speaker as well, and like I said, my pocket money comes from my clothing line, but I'm very heavily invested in the charity, non-profit charity, because that's where I get that inner feeling of when you got a job that you love, and it's the inner feeling you get from that because you love it.
It's your passion, isn't it?
It's the passion that you get, and what makes it worthwhile for me is I don't need payment, and what actually makes it worthwhile for me is when I hear from parents who have had a cuddle cot and they say thank you, and that thank you and the fact that they've had their time with their baby is more than money could ever buy. And absolutely. So that for me is my payment from the charity, is to be helping parents and getting that. I actually met a person yesterday at the baby loss awareness service. And we had repaired a cuddle cot that she ended up using in one of the Warwickshire hospitals. And she was thanking me so much because she got to have 5 days with her baby, whereas we only had hours with Luca. And she asked me specifically, because there were so many support groups there, and I was the only one that does the cuddle cots, the equipment. And she says, why did you choose cuddle cots and not support like everyone else is here with support? And I said, because we didn't have one. And she just cried and she hugged me. And she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you didn't have one. but thank you for doing what you do for
Yeah.
the rest of us, because she says, I can't imagine not having those 5 days with the baby
Yeah.
and having to just pass her over so quickly. And she says, even when they did take the baby those
Yeah.
days later, she says it still, broke her.
Of
She says, I
course.
can't imagine how it felt for you. And I says, well, that's why I do it, because I
Yeah,
didn't want people to feel like I did.
absolutely.
And she was just so grateful and thankful. And that's my payment.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's my inner feeling of success, that somebody's had that, that
Yeah.
what we didn't get, and doesn't have to feel like I did.
Yeah. So essentially you're gifting bereaved families you're giving them the gift of time, which
Yes.
is something that none of us can get back, no matter what situation that we're in. But in that particular situation, you're enabling the gift of making those memories for those days that you unfortunately didn't get to have. It's
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah, I, it's strange, because people will say to me, well, what, because you didn't have it, what's your strength for giving it to others? And I said, it's purely that feeling. I said, that horrible feeling that I had and still have, that I didn't get enough time with Luca, and we didn't get to make the memories that we should have done. For example, his grandparents didn't get to hold him. I didn't take a lock of his hair. I didn't take photos of him in my arms, but I took photos of him, but not of him in my arms. And all these things I now later have regretted. And this photo behind me, you could probably just about see it.
Yeah.
I had that created by an artist of me holding Luca, because I didn't get the photo of me holding him. So she took a photo of me and a photo of Luca, and she drew that for me.
Wow.
And those are the things that you regret if you don't get that gift of time, because that first 24 hours you don't think straight, you don't think of all the things that you wanted to keep memories. It just doesn't register.
No.
And this lady said, when I met her yesterday, she says, you're absolutely right, I didn't think like that in the first 24 hours. But afterwards I did do all those things that you said you didn't get to do. And yeah, like I said, she was so grateful.
Oh, it's bittersweet though, isn't it? Really, it must be incredibly rewarding, like you say, to have that kind of feedback and know that what you're doing is making such a difference. But the pain of continuing without having had that must be unbearable. I can't imagine how difficult that is.
Yeah, it's I've slowly obviously started to live with it over time. It's been nearly 9.5 years now since Luca passed, and so I've started getting used to that feeling, and it lessens over time. It does lessen a little bit over time, or gets easier to carry, I suppose, really. So it never leaves you. It'll never leave me. Obviously the loss of my son, of a loss of a child, is the worst kind of loss that anyone could ever have to bear, because it's not the natural process. Like Mother Nature's gone wrong.
It's not a natural order, is it, at all?
Yeah, that's it. And so that kind of pain, it doesn't leave a parent. And you can see from other parents that have lost children, but they've been in the media as well. I mean, for example, Stephen Lawrence's mum, when he was murdered, she didn't give up, because that was for her child. And
that pain pushed her to help and to solve, which is exactly what you're doing. Your pain has been funneled into helping and solving the issue of not having what you should have had.
Yes, exactly that. So it is that kind of, for her it was obviously getting justice and ensuring that the police and all the legal services kind of thing take these types of crimes extremely serious.
Yeah.
And she accomplished that, and no wonder she's a dame, because she's done that.
Yeah.
For me, it's the other side of it, is giving that time that you don't get.
Yeah.
So if you don't get it at that point, you've lost that chance.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's the hardest thing, and I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Yeah. With the Cuddle Cots, Sharon, I think people would assume that you obviously raise funds and then donate Cuddle Cots to hospitals, but that's more or less completely the opposite, isn't it, of what you do? You really want to put money into repairing them rather than having to get new ones, because there is so many around the country that are unable to be used, isn't there, because they need funds.
That's right. And I'm big on sustainability, hence why my clothing line is all sustainable and organic and ethical as well. So they're made in humane conditions, not in sweatshops. And that's very important to me, these values are. So the Cuddle Cots, like you said, yes, there are many around the country that don't work correctly, properly. There's a part that's damaged, and therefore the whole thing doesn't work. So we do get a diagnostic, I suppose, by the manufacturer, and try and understand if it can be repaired. Obviously, if it's not repairable, we would replace it with a new one. So we always go down the repair route first. And so far at the moment, 100% of the ones that we've looked at to repair have been repaired. Wow. So there's none that have had to be replaced with a new one, because they can be repaired.
Can you give us an idea of how much roughly a repair to a Cuddle Cot would cost?
So repairs of a Cuddle Cot, the maximum would be 300. Because we can get it to the manufacturer. Well, actually 350 if you include the delivery and picking up, etc. as well. So then we can get it to the manufacturer. They'll do a full service on it, and then put a new warranty on it for 12 months as well. So that's the maximum. Some parts have been replaced for £60, £70, those kind of things as well. So we are able to do. That's why we try and see what it is over the phone, if we can tell what it is. Some already know what it is, because it's a leaking mat, and if the mat is leaking, obviously it's not staying cold to keep the baby's body cold, because it's obviously leaking the water. So that's obviously easy to diagnose and say, right, let's just send a replacement mat out. Which kind of mat is it? What size is it? Here you go, here's a new mat. So we've done a few of those over the last few months of the pandemic.
Wow, that's amazing. You touched on your book Angel Warrior. Not only have you written that one, you've also, because you have your second son, you had a really great story when you were telling him about his big brother Luca, and that he was an angel in the sky. So the book that you've recently written is called Why Did Grandad Die? And it's a way of explaining bereavement to children. Can you talk us a bit through about how that came about?
So like you mentioned, Kai was born a year after Luca passed. It was an extremely difficult pregnancy to have. And a baby after a loss is called a rainbow baby. And so it's the rainbow after the storm, as they like to explain it. So often in these circumstances you will hear the term rainbow baby. And so yes, when he was 4.5, I mean, he's always known he's got a brother in the sky, because we keep Luca's picture around in the house in different rooms. We've got his picture as well. So, and when he was little, he used to think it was him as a baby. And I'll say, no, that's Luca. And he got to know that, and then he's like, where's Luca? And I'll say, he's in the sky, he's a star. And so when the stars were out when he was little, he'll wave to the stars and, Mommy, there's Luca, there's star, there's Luca. So it was very, very sweet. But as he got older, then it became more kind of, okay, so Luca died, that's why he's a star. Well, how did he die, Mummy? So he's about 4.5 when he asked this. And it was a challenging conversation, And I knew one day he would ask, but it's the sort of questions that come after that you can't really appreciate or anticipate. So why did Grandad die? I wrote for the Luca Foundation, and this is 100%. I don't take any money from this, but I wrote it for the Luca Foundation, and 100% of the profits go to them. That can be bought on our website, thelucafoundation.org.uk.
Yeah.
And basically it explains that, Luca's a star in the sky, and he died, his heart stopped. And I have a dog, had a dog, a German Shepherd, before the boys, but I've got his photos in the house. And he says, so is Kane there as well? I said, yeah, Kane and Luca play together in the sky. Oh, so what else? Who else with them? Is it just them two? Because I'm thinking, like, how is it just them two?
Yeah.
And I said, no. Well, when my granddad died, I said he went up there as well. So that's why I said, like, why did Grandad die? Because I asked that when I was little. About my great granddad, so not about my granddad, because I still call my great granddad Grandad.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, I needed the book to be diverse, and so kind of represent the kind of losses that a child would go through, which is obviously most likely going to be a pet or a grandparent first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully never a sibling, and I didn't have the heart to put a parent in there at all, because that's just extremely tragic as well. So I made it so that it's about older people, but literally about 2 or 3 weeks after we had that conversation, and we were watching a film, and there was a dog in there with a homeless man who had passed away. And the dog was obviously trying to wake him up, and Kai's watching it with me, and he's like, why is he not waking up? And he needs to look after the doggy. And I said, I think he died. And he says, well, why is his body still there? And I was like, oh wow, yeah, good question.
That's not what I was expecting.
So I was like, okay, put it on pause. So when somebody dies, and their spirit comes out of their body, which is invisible to us. That's what lives in the body. That's the part that keeps us alive, I suppose, with the heart. I said, so but that part goes to the sky, and that part becomes the star.
Yeah.
I said, but here we have a ceremony called a funeral, and that's where we say goodbye to the body. And I left it at that. I didn't go into any kind of burial or cremation or anything like that. Just kind of left it at that. And it
eloquently put, though, the way that you explained it was perfect.
Yeah, and it didn't raise any more questions, which was really good. Which I was kind of relieved about. So I've kind of put the funeral part in the book there, so they can understand if they ever see it out there, passing in a car, they understand what that is. And so we've got a little greenery going up with some headstones and etc. on that page, so they understand that. But then I also thought, well, I better add the part about emotions are normal, nothing to be scared of. So if mommy and daddy are crying, it's okay. It's okay for them to cry, because it's tears of love, because they just crying because they can't see that person that they love anymore. And that's okay. If mommy and daddy are crying, but also it's okay for you to cry as well. So I thought that was really important, especially for mental health for children. They don't, by a certain age, you don't want to hide your crying anymore from them. And so, for example, on Luca's birthday this year, we always cut a cake for him and sing happy birthday to him. This was the first year where I cried in front of him. I didn't hide it, and normally I do hide it. And but he knew instantly why I was crying.
Because you'd already told him that it's okay, and that's the reason why Mummy's crying.
Yeah, that's it. And so now he understands all of that. It makes it easier. So if he does see me upset on a day or something like that, he knows
it's because Mummy loves Luca.
And Father's Day last year, not this year, during the lockdown, crazy enough, Luca's birthday and Father's Day fell on the same day. So we bought a present for my husband that he'd wanted, and kind of like, Daddy, this is for me and Luca. And he writes a card. He'll always put Luca and Kai, and my husband cried as well, So, and Kai, at that point, Kyan said, this is how much a year's difference makes. He says, "Oh, Daddy's crying because he loves his present." And I says, he does love his present, but he's also crying because Luca's not here, and it's also Luca's birthday today. And he got, and that was it. He got it. And this year he understood why I was crying. So it's literally that. Children are so resilient. Once it's explained to them, they understand it. And I'm glad, really, in that way, that we had that conversation, because now this book is helping so many children. So it has had so many orders. There's a little video actually on our social media of a little girl who reads this book to herself. And she's 4, and her nanny passed away a couple of years ago. So her mum bought this book to explain to her where Nanny's gone. And so she reads it to herself now. It's like a bedtime book, and she'll read it to herself and talks about her nanny. And she sent me a little video clip of her doing that, and I said, "Well, do you mind if I use that for our social media to show, look, how much of a difference this book makes for children?" And she goes, "No, please do, because it has made so much difference for her daughter."
Absolutely.
And it was the charity, and the book actually was acknowledged by Kensington Palace. So I sent it to them when their dog died, for them to explain it to the children, because I thought, well, they're actually a similar age to where Kai was when he asked that question. And so I sent it, and they acknowledged it with a letter, which I was like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe this letter come through." But it was so nice. Yes, a royal stamp. And I thought, oh gosh, are they going to say, "Please don't send us anything else"? But no, it was lovely. They acknowledged it, and they said, because I mentioned in the letter, I sent it because it helps their mental health, which is something that they're very big on, obviously, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. And so obviously they acknowledged that, and I'd said that my aim is to get it into UK primary schools to help children's mental health on this subject. And they sent lovely wishes to say, "We wish you all success to get it into primary schools," and it was just lovely. It's lovely. I've still got to frame it. I really need to frame that letter. I've kept it safe, but I do need to frame it.
It's such a shame that they can't. I mean, you can't get more higher, really, than the royal family. It's a shame that they can't just say to all the primary schools, "Look, you need to have this book." And I think the primary schools will be like, "Yeah, sure, we'll do it.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Let's do it." Yeah, exactly. That would have really helped, actually.
Definitely.
So if they watch this, maybe they might want to help us out.
Get in touch. Links are below.
I'm glad it's helping a lot of children, and that's the aim, obviously, what it was for.
It's also every single aspect of everything that you do, Sharon, is all about helping other people, and that is such a special quality to have. you should be so proud of yourself, and I bet your family are incredibly proud of you. And
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize is not only are you so busy with the clothing line, with the book, with the charity, you actually, bless you, you have what's known as a hidden disability, don't you? Fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about how that affects your day-to-day life?
Yeah, so I mean, weirdly enough, today actually, I'd woken up to see my son off to school.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a great night because it can cause insomnia, or the pain particularly is bad. It keeps you awake, even though I've got a cocktail of medication.
Yeah.
Some nights are just really, really hard. So today I saw my son off to school and I went back to bed, and I slept. I woke up probably about 11:15 again after that, and it's so hard to run a charity and try and make a living at the same time, and because I haven't got the energy, or I suppose the mental capacity as well to do it, because cognitively my mind can't take in so much in one go. I can't process it like I would have done before I had fibromyalgia. So before that, I was a project manager and I was very successful in my career.
Yeah.
And as a result of the illness, I lost my career. And it was really, really hard for me to take that blow, really, because I'd worked so hard to get to where I was.
Yeah.
And but then for an illness to then suddenly take all of that away from me, it was and that was in 2018 that I lost my career.
Yeah.
And it was that year then, literally 2-3 months later, it was Luca's 6th anniversary of his passing as well. And it was then that I had a breakdown, because I was in horrific pain. I had sciatica, I had pain all over my body, my neck, my shoulders, everything. And it was so hard to walk. And literally, I was broken with the pain. But then I was broken, obviously, it was Luca's 6th anniversary, and it hit me like a tsunami. And I think if I hadn't been in the pain I was in and lost my career and everything, I don't think it would have affected me as bad. But everything accumulated together, it hit me like a tsunami, and I had a breakdown, and I was probably in bed for about 10 or so days, really poorly, really unable to get up, really, even to lift my head. It was a very hard time, but I came out of it stronger. And it was then that I thought, actually, I want to do something in his memory. And suddenly I was talking about him without crying. So I knew that breakdown had actually done that for me.
Yeah, almost released something to allow you to be able to speak about him. And I mean, if you think about it, maybe it was him helping you. Maybe he saw everything that you were going through, and maybe he knew that you perhaps hadn't had a chance to properly grieve for him, because you'd been so busy in your job. And if obviously, as a project manager, I can imagine that the pace of life must have been very, very fast, and then to kind of stop must have been really, really difficult as well. So it's almost like he was behind you, saying, you can do it, and this is the direction that your life needs to go in. That's pretty special.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely, I mean, I do believe in spiritual things that happen for a reason, etc. And I do believe heavily in that. And I think you're right. I think that was definitely part of it. And like I said, if I hadn't been in a lot of pain and with fibromyalgia, etc., because that was a massive contribution to that breakdown, because it was the illness that made me lose my whole career, and knowing that I'm never going to be that person again. I was trying to find the new person that I was, and living with a debilitating illness. So it was trying to sort of understand my limitations.
Yeah.
And I was trying so hard to understand what my limitations were and how I need to manage this illness, and my
Yeah.
focus was so much there that it just broke me in the end, that I can't believe my life has come to this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm you know, I was 42 at that point when I had the breakdown. I was 40. I turned 40 the year that I got fibromyalgia.
Right.
And I thought, you know, how they always say, you know, life begins at 40, all of that.
Yeah.
And I was really like thinking, yes, you know, this is going to be great. It's going to be, we were trying for a third child as well. And the fibromyalgia put pay to that. So I think there was so many things that were connected with the illness.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, a good 80% of that breakdown was about the illness and my limitations that were put on me now, and how I was going to live life, because I didn't know what I was ever going to do again. But like you said, you know, there was a pushing force in there as well to say that it cleared my head almost of that fog, and thought, right, actually I can keep myself busy if I do a charity in memory of my son. And I thought a bit about the time, obviously, when we lost him, and what we needed. And I thought, okay, and I did have support, I did have that counselling, that I had all of that kind of thing. So it's not that I actually think is needed. There's lots of charities out there for counselling. And I thought, actually, the thing that I needed and wanted when I learned about it was the Cuddle Cot. Was the cold cot, because I realised how much we'd lost out by not having it. So that was it then. I just decided that's what the charity is going to be doing.
Wow. So it's almost like, in order to gain that clarity that you needed, you had to hit rock bottom in order to flourish and kind of see the light in a way, and find your direction again. Because I bet you were grieving. I bet it was another grieving process for you. So you were grieving for the person that you were before, the things you were able to do before, the life that you had before. You were grieving for that at the same time.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Because when I was starting to learn to deal with it, and started going on to fibromyalgia groups, chronic illnesses groups on Facebook, and people said you will go through phases throughout of this, the rest of your life now, where you grieve for the life that you had, and you grieve for the life that was meant to be. And that was very much what was happening, because I knew we couldn't have a third child anymore. I'd lost my career. It was I was put pretty much on the severe scale of fibromyalgia. So we have the mild, moderate, and severe. I was on the high end of moderate, stroke severe, and I knew that was it. And a friend of mine who works in HR, and I said, well, maybe I can get a part-time job, do something. And she says, I hate to say this to you, but you're unemployable, because you're going to have to say you've got fibromyalgia, and you're going to have to be honest on the times that you are in bed, and you have to go back to bed. So some days I could be up and I think, okay, I'm fine today, and the first 2-3 hours fine, and then suddenly something just goes and I fall deep, start my energy just starts draining out of me. And I know I have a short period of time where I have to get to my bed, because I won't be able to function at all. And that happens as well. It's happened sometimes whilst I'm having dinner at our family table, and suddenly I put my fork down and my husband will just look at me, because he's got used to it as well. And I'll say, I can't eat anymore, and he says, you're going into a flare, because they're called fibro flares. And I says, yeah, I am. He's like, okay, leave everything, have your tablets, get to bed. And then literally within 10 minutes I'm in bed, and he has to then pick up the pieces, basically. He's got to be dad, he's got to be mom, he's got to be house cleaner and
Mhm.
you know, all of those things. So it plays a massive it impacts your relationship a
Yeah,
lot,
I bet.
because obviously there's guilt felt by me that
Mhm.
he's having to do so much more, and then there's frustration by him, the fact
Yeah,
that he has to do more.
yeah,
And it really is, it really impacts life. And you know, Kai
all
was 3.5.
aspects of your life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so Kai was 3.5 when I got fibromyalgia,
Yeah,
and he doesn't remember the days that I would play football with him and take him to the park. He only knows it by photos or
okay,
videos that I've done when I've taken him to the park and he's on the swing and I've videoed it or something
yeah.
like that. And I'm like, you know, he'll be like, did Daddy go? And I'm like, no, just you and me. And he goes,
Mhm.
why can't we do that now? And I'm like, Mommy can't walk properly. So, you know, it's he had to learn how to
Yeah,
understand fibromyalgia as well, because it was really hard on him. Because, you know, I was at a stage where I was strong enough and active enough, because I used to do kickboxing and yoga and
yeah,
spinning classes, those types of things. And so I was strong and active
yeah.
before it hit. And it came about from a car accident. Somebody hit me from behind, typical young girl on her phone,
Oh my gosh.
wasn't looking properly, and hit me from behind her when I was stationary at a roundabout. And the effect it's had on our lives is
Yeah,
oh gosh, you know, it's changed our lives, but you can't you know, beyond
upside down.
recognition. Yeah.
Hmm.
And another inspiration for the children's book is because I bought a children's book about explaining fibromyalgia,
Okay.
and it really helped Kai to understand why Mummy can't do things,
Yeah,
and why
it's
Mummy
because
might
it's
look normal.
invisible, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah. And why Mummy might look normal, and she's at that time I didn't have a walking stick, but I do now. And so I thought actually that books like this can really help
yeah.
conversation. And so that was another little inspiration for the book. But also when he was started reception, and they, as they do, they talk about families, pets and everything that they've got at home.
Hmm.
And when it was his turn, he's like, oh my God, my mummy and my daddy and my brother lives in the sky.
Yeah.
And the children laughed because they didn't
Oh,
obviously understand the brother in the sky.
yeah.
And I told his teachers prior
Hmm.
to him starting that if he does ever talk about his brother, it's because he knows he's got an older brother, but he's not with us.
Yeah.
And so they were aware, but obviously children at that age, they don't understand any of that. But
No.
it made me realize that had this book been there in the school at that point, and he said that, they could have got this book out and said, actually,
Absolutely.
this is what Kai means.
Yeah.
So it would have made so much difference. And
Hmm.
it happens to school. I remember it happening in primary school when I was there, and a girl lost her father.
Yeah.
And you know, and it was really sad. And you know, we were told, I think I was probably 9 at the time, so I was that
Hmm.
little bit older, but and I understood loss,
Yeah.
but not properly. I didn't
Hmm.
understand what happens or anything like that. But I, you know, and I, you know, had to sit, and I said to her, I'm glad you're back, and I gave her a hug and stuff.
Oh,
But and everyone was told to kind of really do that, to, you know,
yeah.
welcome her back in the class and be nice and all of those things.
Hmm.
And
But no one was really told the ins and outs of exactly what happens and exactly how people will feel about things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, you know, I could have said, if I didn't had a book like this at that point and knew about this, I could have said, you know, your daddy's in the sky and he's looking at you, and
Yeah.
he's happy, and you know, could have said things like that. You
Yeah.
know,
It's
could have
okay if
cried
you
out.
cry, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. And then when she was crying, you know, it was like, oh gosh, she's crying. You know, it
Yeah.
was like
And then
that,
you
and it
edge
wasn't.
away, don't you? Because you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
Because I
Yeah.
think when we were younger, I mean, I'm not saying that we were like told not to show our emotions, but it was very different between parents and children. There wasn't the openness that we have with our kids now, I don't think. And it's very much a case of, well, actually keep your emotions to yourself because they're weak, or don't let anybody see any weaknesses within you because they'll take advantage of that. But
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
kind of like, you know, it's okay. And I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, and that's it. And they're teaching that in schools now, isn't it? It's okay not to be okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to have emotions. But the big thing for me was the parents have emotions, and
Yeah.
not to be scared of that. Don't
Mhm.
think it's you that's upset them,
Yeah.
because I think that's what children have felt in the past. I know I have.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I thought, oh no, I've said something and I've upset
Mhm.
mummy, kind of thing. And my brothers were young when my mum's dad died, you know,
Yeah.
and that was really tough for them. I was
Mhm.
16, but they were like 11 and 7, I think.
Yeah.
So it was tough for them to understand that. And
Mhm.
mom crying, trying to hide it. I knew she was crying,
Yeah.
but she was trying to hide it from the boys. And you know, so it was it's I think, yeah, this book can really change the way we talk about loss.
Yeah.
And that's my aim, really, is eventually, I mean, there's so many things in this sort of remit of, it's a taboo to talk about loss, you know, you shouldn't, you know, people across the street, to avoid having to have that conversation.
Mhm.
And with us, we were very much felt like that, you know,
Yeah.
you feel like you're being avoided.
Oh.
And one of our friends, best friends of ours, a couple, they came over and they just said, we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
We've got no words. And for us, it didn't matter that they didn't know what to say. And we said, the fact that you're here
Yeah.
says it all.
Mhm. The fact that
And
they're
I
present, that's all you needed. You didn't need words, because words wouldn't make a difference. No matter what anybody could say to you at that point in time, it doesn't lessen your pain. It doesn't be able to change what's happened. But the fact that you've got physical support and know that people are there for you, that's all the
Yeah.
comfort that you need at that time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Angel Warrior book, and you know, with the children's book, and I think eventually we can change that and educate
Yeah.
people just to say, I don't know what to say, I'm really
Mhm.
sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And that is enough.
Mhm.
That is absolutely enough, for that person going through it will appreciate just those few words. And I think if we're ever going to change this conversation,
Yeah.
or make it a normal conversation, we're going to have to start with the younger generation.
Yeah,
And I think this book
definitely.
can definitely do that, and start educating people just to say, you know, I don't know what to say, I'm
Yeah.
really sorry for your loss. And that's all it takes. And just
Yeah.
say, you know, do you want to change your scenery, do you want to go for a cuppa,
Yeah.
or something like that,
Mhm.
and have a normal conversation with that person. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be about the loss. But the
Mhm.
amount of adults that I've come across, because I now support other sort of workshops about
Yeah.
bereavement and things like that, and the amount of adults that I've come across who have lost their partner, and now their friends that are still couples
Mhm.
don't now invite them to something,
Oh.
or don't feel that they can have a conversation about them going away
Mhm.
as a husband and wife, because
Yeah.
they haven't. But all they know, everybody else's lives carry on, we know that.
Yeah.
And everyone understands that. No one's expecting you to stop living your life,
Mhm.
but just acknowledge that they're still there, and that
Yeah.
you can still be there for them. And I think that's a huge thing we need to change in society.
I agree. Definitely. So with your Angel Warrior book, Sharon, so that's available on the website, as is your Why Did Grandad Die? people can find out more information. If you could just give us the website address again, and then your social media handles, just in case anybody wants to come to you for information and check out the charity. Also, just to point out that you touched on it beforehand about the reason that you do the Luca Foundation is because it's something that you know that you can help with. But you said there's plenty of counselling and things like that out there. But you, as a charity, you actually have people that you can direct people to, don't you? That you work closely with. So
yes, yeah. And because I'm so open about talking about Luca, I have had people come to me to talk to me about it, and I'll have a conversation with them, but then I'll say, but I'm not a counsellor, so I would like you to talk to a counsellor as well.
Okay.
And I'll put them in touch with a group of charities that I affiliate with, and refer them to the right charity for them. So I absolutely 100% do that, and it was so lovely. I think it was this time last year that I helped a lady who came to me privately and said that thank you for opening and talking about your loss, because I feel like I've got permission to talk about my loss. And she says, but my family doesn't feel that I should. And so she was in a difficult place, and I said, do you have your baby's picture out? She said no. And I said, why? She says, because it makes everyone else feel uncomfortable. I said, but that's your baby. I said, do you have your other children's pictures out? She said, yes. And I said, put her picture up. It was her. And I said, put her picture out. And show everyone that she's still part of who you are. And
that will never change.
So she did that, but she went for the counselling that I've referred her to as well. But about 3 weeks later, she said, you've changed my life. I feel so much better and lighter for having spoken about loss with the counsellor, but also took my advice on putting the picture out to show her, to show everyone else that she's not going to be forgetting her baby that existed. And I think that's important, because it's only us that we can do that. If other people want to forget it, it's for us to take ownership and say, no, it's not going to be forgotten.
It's part of me.
Exactly. So so that's about the counselling that you mentioned. But this book's available on the charity sites, which is www.thelucafoundation.org.uk. And 100% of that goes to the charity, like I said. And this one is on LK EcoStyle, so lkecostyle.com, under the Angel Warrior range. And that's where you find the tops as well, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, etc. And 10% of the profits from all the Angel Warrior goes to the Luca Foundation. But that's obviously my bit of pocket money that I also help me to live, so that I can run a charity.
Fabulous. Well, Sharon, it's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you, and I definitely want to get involved, definitely want to help as much as I can, so we'll have a chat about that. Absolutely, and let's try and get this book into all primary schools. Let's be knocking on some doors, I think.
That's it. We need to get some funding and show how important it really is for children to have that. So, like I said, it's available for parents to buy, because often parents want to have that conversation themselves as well, especially now that there's something to aid it. There's never anything really that kind of match that kind of conversation in the real terms, and what we should be saying now to children, as opposed to 20 years ago. But Mr. Badger is poorly and his friends are upset, and those types of things. They need to know the real side of it now, because there's so much available on the internet that they have access to, that we don't want them to see. It's better a family have that conversation themselves.
Absolutely. And you on your own, but also with the Luca Foundation, are enabling the start of that conversation, which I think is really, really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can, as a generation now, our generation can start breaking that barrier, it's going to be so much easier in terms of mental health for
Yeah.
our children when they grow up and have to talk about us dying to their children.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Where's
it's
that book?
yeah, exactly. It's going to be one of those things, isn't it? It's, you know, planting the seeds now for my grandchildren.
And it's exactly the same as what you're doing with your clothing line as well, being eco-friendly, sustainable, and creating a better future for our kids, which is wonderful.
Yes,
and that's all we all want,
to save the planet. Yeah, we have to save the planet for our children and our future generations. It's, you know, we're at that crucial time, as you know, it's been all over the news and stuff. It should have been done 30 years ago.
Yeah,
but we are where we are now, and you know, we can't just bury our heads on it. We all have to take responsibility in some way to do that. And my responsibility is, even though I do lots of recycling at home and everything like that, but being a businesswoman trying to earn a little bit of money as well, I wanted to do it the right way, which is going to help our planet and our children in the future.
Absolutely. Oh, Sharon, it's been absolutely wonderful, and thank you so much for coming on. I'll pop the links for everybody below, and yes, I wish you well, and I shall speak to you soon.
Yes, thank you. Bye.